Hey everybody, I'm just kind of messing around in my scene right now. Wait for some more people to join the cat before we decide what we're going to do today. Superfunk says, the portrait looks so good. I think you're talking about Eden's portrait up in the corner. Yeah, we've now got different portraits for the different pilots. So Eden flies the Falcon, so you see her head up there. We can change the test to Zacket, who has the spider tank. So you can see there's his head up there. Whoop. Then if we change back to the ace fighter, the rabbit, then you can see kit actually has emotes though. One step at a time. So yeah, at the moment I have this like 0 gravity test level, and I was thinking of just like making a kind of like space station maybe that's like a 3D maze. I was kind of looking at like how mazes were set up in the game Descent. If anybody played that back in the day. Wait, I thought I had some reference images. Yeah, here we go. So it's got like all these big chambers that you can free fly around in, and then there's these like different tunnels that go between the different sections. So this level is configured to be a 0G level. So when you're just flying around, there's like no up. You can just freely rotate in any direction. And so now I'm going and seeing about making some like corridors and chambers and things, and seeing if that's like too wild in full 3D. If our controls are like a little too different from Descents to really pull that off or not. I'm also just kind of using it as an excuse to use these like Unreal modeling tools, which were added in the plugins. This is like a standard plugin. It's Modeling Tools Editor Mode. I think they're a lot more elaborate in Unreal 5. These are just the basic beta version of it for Unreal 4, which is the engine we're in right now, but I hadn't used it before, so I'm just kind of learning it right now. If you're not used to like 3D modeling or anything, this might look a little bit weird right now, the way I can kind of like X-ray see into this room. That's because this has a thing called backface culling. So like each of these triangles has like a forward face, and when you're in front of it you can see it, but when you're behind it you can't see it. So all the faces that are facing away from us are like invisible, so I can like look into the interior. That's also kind of interesting for collision, because I set this up as one-way collision, so like from the outside you can like get inside, but then once you're inside you're kind of like stuck inside. In practice you'd just be spawned inside of it. What I'm placing right now is a box spawner for enemy jets. They all spawn inside the box and then they fly around, and every time they leave the box they'll turn around and go back into the box. That kind of localizes them to one region. I just want to test out a little bit of combat. They're going through the walls right now because they don't really care about collision. I'll have to think about how to do that at some point. But I thought this space was pretty big, but it doesn't look big enough to handle how far away they fly away from you before they turn around and come back to do a strafing run. So I'll have to think about that. Maybe I'll just try and make it a little bit bigger for now. Unreal modeling tools, mesh sensitivity leaves a lot to be desired. Did I say mesh sensitivity? I meant mouse sensitivity. Bravo Delta. think this mesh tool is just bugged. It's doing weird things, right? If it looks confusing to you, it's confusing to me too. I guess it's unhappy if you do an extrude and then do another operation before like baking the extrusion back to the mesh. You know, just definitely seems like, you know, the programmer tested it themselves, decided it was good, and then inflicted it on everyone else. And there it is, a crash. Oh, look at that. It saved the spawner box that I placed, but it didn't save the big box that I made. Oh, there's an actor for it. It just doesn't have a mesh that it can reference. Wow, this stuff sucks. Okay, so when you start editing a mesh, it makes a folder called _generated / I guess my Windows username, and then just makes a thing inside of here, but doesn't like automatically check it out or save it when I save the level. Ah! just makes me want to model this whole thing in Blender, but then I don't have the replay loop, so it's not as easy to prototype. I don't know. I feel like both of these are like half a solution. Look at the insane UVs that these things make by default. This looks like affine texture mapping. Crashed again. What is this guy doing? And it junked all my progress again. I'm not using this thing anymore. This is... They called it beta. I would call this pre-alpha. See, look at that beta version. Liars. Let me just go online real quick and see if there's any other Unreal 4 plugins that are kind of like it. Otherwise, I'll maybe just do something else for a while. This is the fun of game development, folks. Well, it doesn't look like it, just from a quick perusal. So, how about we do something else? I was starting to put some stuff in earlier for this body slam component. This is the idea that there might be a type of weapon where you just like crash into something to attack it. So like you like dash forward. So maybe I'll work on that for a little bit. All I've done is just this like scaffolding. So like fighter weapon interface is like the interface for any weapons. Interfaces are just like, you know, like tags or aspects of an object. So you can like limit how much of it you expose. I don't know if that makes any sense to programmers who don't already know what interfaces are, but you can see anything that can handle a trigger being pressed, held, or released is like a weapon. So like, for instance, we have bullet shooter component. This is a weapon. It shoots bullets when you press the trigger. We also have missile shooter component. This one also implements it. This one takes missile locks while you're holding, and then when you release the trigger, if you have missile locks, then it spawns a bunch of missiles. This is going to be similar to that, except what'll happen is, I guess when we press the trigger, you'll like jump forward, and like maybe like if you release the trigger within a tap window, you'll do a short jump forward, but if you hold it, you'll do like a longer jump forward. So let's just do that for now. The way that the player moves right now is by these objects called movement modes. This is the same sort of thing. This is an interface for anything that can like remote control the player. You can see this is more elaborate. It does all this stuff, and internally the movement modes also do stuff like change the camera and things. So I don't think I want to make a whole new movement mode. I think I just want to like have a little movement overrider that will like temporarily override your movement, but leave everything else like the camera and all the other tagging and stuff alone. So let's add a new interface for that. Jack B. Nimble in the chat says, "Hi Max, this is so cool. Thanks." Fighter movement override. Sounds like a good name. So we'll say virtual void fighter movement override. Enter. Update. And then fighter movement override exit. This is sort of a cool thing you can do in C++ that you can't do in like Java, which is that give default implementations to interface methods, so I'm just saying they do nothing by default. That way you don't have to override all of them, like just the ones that you need. I do think for this override, I'm going to take a dynamic pose is my structure that just stores like your position, your rotation, your velocity, and your angular velocity. So since almost all these overrides are just going to be mostly just editing this pose, I'm going to like pass that in. And then we can save a line of code on every movement override. It doesn't have to like get a reference to this from the fighter pawn. The fighter pawn is the player themselves. This is the object that has all the player's like main logic and all their sub-objects and components and things. I don't know if that's declared. It's in player util. Yeah, I think I might just doing some fun C++ stuff for a second. In C++, you can't use a name unless it's been declared. So I've just got this one file, star.h. Star is just my like pithy internal name for the project, which just declares all the names of all the like objects and structures that we care about, so that I can use them in these declarations without having to include a million other files, which slows down the compiler. So we have this fighter movement override interface. So let's implement that on our new body slam component. So you can see when you make a new object, in addition to its base type, you can also list all of the interfaces that it implements. And then this override specifier indicates that we're actually changing the implementation of this method. All of which is just to say this is just the list of commands that this object can accept. Okay, so the first thing that happens when they press the trigger, that's when we should say that like the pawn should like use this movement override. So we'll say like push movement override this. And this isn't actually a function on the pawn, so we gotta add that. Now, while I'm still figuring things out, I'm going to throw it at the bottom of the class just as like a public method. I can like do a better design later. But we can say like, you can like push a fighter movement override, and you can pop a fighter movement override. So push and pop, these words come from like a data structure in programming called a stack, which is usually, you got a stack of stuff and you push something on top, or you pop something. Usually you pop it off the top. I think maybe clear is a better word, which is just remove it from the stack entirely wherever it is. So now we can go into the fighter pawn. We can say that it has these methods. Compile, make sure I haven't put a typo in any of my headers. I totally did. Oh, this only has the declaration of the fighter pawn, but it doesn't actually know all its methods, so we need to include fighter pawn.h. There we go. Okay. We've done a thing that does nothing, but now we can make it do something. So in the fighter pawn, next to where it has the current movement mode, we can also say iFighter movement override. And we'll do a timestamp override start time. So right now I don't want to think about if multiple overriders are trying to get pushed at the same time, so I'm just going to check that movement override is null, which means when you try and override the movement, nobody else is currently overriding it. So this check will just interrupt the game if that ever happens, and then we can like look at the actual situation and figure it out and see what the best way to resolve it is. But I'm going to say movement override is in. We're also going to make sure that you're actually passing something. So you can see what happens in push movement override is we save the current override, we write down what the current time is in case anybody wants to know how long we've been in the override. You can just compare the current timestamp with this save timestamp, and then we're gonna like call that override enter method to let the receiver know, hey, guess what? You're in control of the fighter now. Down here. I know there's actually like a pithy way you can actually put this ensure in this condition, but I always forget if like the ensure goes to true or goes to false, and everybody else always forgets. So I find just doing it this way with like a check and then an ensure false is just totally unambiguous, and I don't have to like remember it each time. In this clear movement override, we're making sure that the passed in override is valid and that it's the current override. And if so, then we're just going to say in override movement exit. Every time I have like one of these interfaces that's like a delegate for another object, I always like pass that other object in so you know where the call is coming from. And then we'll say override. Cool. So this handles setting and unsetting the override, but the fighter is currently not using that override. So let's do that. You can see here the fighter has a method called update movement. This is the main place where the movement updates. And the way that that works is we basically keep calling fighter movement update while the movement stays the same. This is so if like the movement mode changes in the middle of the update, then the new movement mode will also get an update. And then I'm calling set actor location and rotation. This is the like Unreal method, which actually moves the actor. And then I've got some like debug drawing stuff that you can optionally turn on. So what we're going to say here is like, if we have an override, then we should call that movement overrides update. And then if we don't have a movement override, then we should do the normal movement logic. Maybe wondering why I did like an if here and then another if as opposed to an else. Well, the reason's that like this update might clear the movement mode, and then you might start with a movement mode but then not have a movement mode after this update. So. Sorry, one sec. Our cat is like horking downstairs. I'm gonna go see, make sure that she's okay. Cat update. She seems to be okay. I think she just had a hair ball. So you can see what we're doing now is we'll start overriding movement when you press the trigger. If you've been holding the trigger for more than, I'm just saying, 1 second, then we'll clear the movement. Otherwise, when you release the trigger, we'll clear the movement. Yeah, we'll also clear the movement if this weapon is disabled when you're in the middle of it. Just a real quick test version where it's like, okay, we'll just move in the character's forward direction at like 50 meters per second. That's 5,000 centimeters per second. We're not doing any collision checks or anything. We're just like shooting forward. So let me see. Okay, this can be placed in the editor. So let's try and build. Oh, I can move Proto Man. The boy has joined us. So we're just gonna try and like add that component. So that was melee body slam. Here we go. It's on there. I think something's probably gonna get weird, but let's see what happens. Okay, melee body slam doesn't have a reticle, so we don't see anything, but yeah, there we go. We're like shooting forward. Like I said, there's no collision on that movement, so normally you can't like go through collision, but in that test code that we wrote, it totally goes through. You can see I can do like a quick tap and it'll just shoot forward a little bit, or I can hold it and then it'll shoot forward a lot faster. So the issue right now, I think, is the collision. I don't think this is like normal collision where we like resolve your velocity and we do all this other stuff. I think it's more like as soon as you hit something, you should just like stop. Your velocity should be sort of like bounced off of it. And then the thing that you hit should get a message that the player just body slammed you, and then different things can choose to handle that message differently. So let's do the collision part next. I'm just doing some bookkeeping. I'm just doing a little bit of numberwing here to get all the inputs into the sweeping function, where you take a shape and you sweep it through the world and it tells you if you collided with anything. So here we gotta check if we sweep forward and there were no blocking hits, then we just advance the poses position like we were doing already. And then down here we've got the sort of more elaborate case handling if we collided with something. So here I'm just going to test. We're going to like put your position right up on it. We're going to set your velocity away from it, and then we're going to clear the movement override. This is all super dirty code. It'll get cleaned up as I test it. I might go to a better level on this one that's less sort of like crazy. Here, we'll call this scene Test Body Slam. I kind of want you to like go up a little bit too. Here, let's try. I'm doing, you couldn't see it because it appeared on another screen, but I'm doing like live coding, which is the thing that you can do if you're not adding or removing any data membranes. Okay, you know what? The character isn't going up, but I think it's because they still have a ground contact. I think when you're in the middle of doing this dash attack, it shouldn't consider you as having any kind of ground contact. So let's make sure to break that first. So when you start overriding, break any contact that you have with the world. Contact is like, we know your ground position, so if you're on like a moving platform, you move with the platform. It's also used to like adjust your movement. There we go. I kind of get hit up a little bit now. Boop. Boop. Okay, this is actually quite extreme. Let's give it, I was just picking magic numbers before, but let's give it a little better configuration. So properties are like configuration properties that you can see in the editor. Defaults only. Right. Category equals body slam. Float min slam duration. You know, for minimum you'll do it for 0.1 seconds. Float max slam duration. At most you can do it, I guess for half of a second. I don't know, we'll see. We can say float max slam distance will be like, I guess 5 meters. So now, instead of just saying 5,000, we can compute the slam speed as being max slam distance divided by max slam duration. And then we can plug that number in. This max time up here, we'd say if override is greater than max slam duration, clear the override. I do think there is something, yeah, let's say slam time. Instead of using those timestamps, I think I'm gonna actually like slam time remaining, like track time remaining, so that when you stop slamming, I can do like a subframe to make sure that you go exactly 5 meters. It's the kind of detail that like you would kind of overlook for just doing like a visual effect or something, but for gameplay it's really important to be really precise about the times and distances so that you get consistent results. I mean, these are like consistent like to a frame, which might seem crazy, but like it really matters for people who are playing for like the high skill ceiling. So enter, we'll say slam time remaining. Actually update the movement, we'll say dt is the min of the delta time and the slam time remaining. So this will be the actual delta time. We won't do like a full time step if there's less than like 1 time steps time remaining. And here we'll say slam time remaining is dt. When we exit, we can just say slam time remaining. Just set it to like a standard negative value. I like seeing that clean -1 in the debugger just to know that this function definitely ran. And then up here we can say if slam time remaining is less than 0. Or I'll actually say less than this funnily named constant, kind of small number. This is actually in Unreal. It's 0.00001 or 0.001. Yeah. So very small number. We don't want to like worry about things that are like a little too small. We'll say if the override is current and the slam time remaining is less than 0, and we're done. And then in released here, we're basically just going to clear you. Actually, yeah, this is getting more complicated because it's not. You might release the trigger, but due to the min time, you're going to go a little bit longer. So let's say holding trigger. So when you press the trigger, say holding trigger is true. When you release the trigger, we'll say holding trigger is false. And then when we update, like actually update the movement, we'll say like if we'll just have a quick early out here, which is if not holding trigger. I'll say float slam time is, what is it? The max slam duration minus the slam time remaining. You know what? Tracking slam time is better than slam time remaining. This is a little confusing. So if you're not holding the trigger and you've already finished the min slam duration, then we should clear your movement mode. We're done. Actually, let's just think about this later. So slam time remaining. If you're holding the trigger, then it's max slam duration minus the slam time. Otherwise, it's min slam duration minus the slam time. And then dt is the min of light. And we can basically say if slam time remaining is less than kind of small number, then we're done. So we can just clear this out. Get out of here. Otherwise, the dt is the min of these things. We say slam time plus equals delta time. And then all this logic remains the same, I think. Yeah. And then trigger held. Well, this is, wait, let me think about this. We don't need this anymore. You know, all the logic is encapsulated right here now. We have your max duration. Slam time remaining is slam duration minus slam time. Yeah, and then this check basically says if we're over, then we're done. Otherwise, we spend as much time as we can up to the current frame time. We do all that calculation, and then we possibly clear out because of an impact. So yeah, I think this is like a complete state machine. So let's see what happens. I might be like totally wrong. This might be like totally busted, but let's all find out together. Here, you know what? I think I'm gonna play some sound effects when it starts and stops. And that can like help us to know when the actual start and stop is, because I don't have any visual effects right now, so it's a little confusing. So let's add some events here. Say F. So we're gonna declare an event. Call the fighter melee call them blueprint assignable. Start overriding, we'll say slam started. When we finish, we'll say slam finished. And when there's an impact, we'll say spider. Can add a new event graph and say body slam events. And here's those events that we added. So we have start, finished, and impact. And when the body slam starts, play sound at location. We can play, what do we want to play? Be able to filter sounds, sound wave. There we go. There's a bunch of sounds. Let's make these thumbnails a little bit smaller. What's a good? Here, we'll do basic attack for when you go. Enemy damaged. Oh wait, we should only do enemy damaged on impact. And let's actually, yeah, that's fine. For finished for now. Let's just do this dumb ding sound to know what it ends. And let me turn up my Unreal volume. I don't think maybe you guys are hearing it. But now, so yeah, you can see here's the like minimum, and here's the maximum. That's a pretty crazy long maximum though. So let's take that time down. Maybe like the minimum is 5% of a second and the maximum is 1/4 of a second. Or maybe, yeah, let's say 0.1 to 0.25. Yeah, we can check that you're definitely going 5 meters. If I start on this line, and I face that way, yeah, I seem to be going 5 meters. Wait, these are 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. I seem to be stopping a little short. Maybe there's a bug in my code. Wait, let's go back. Compute the slam time remaining. The DT is the minimum of the delta time and the slam time remaining, and the slam time is incremented by the frame time. No, I think all of this is right. Let me just like do a quick test and see how far we've actually moved. So we'll say start position is on get position. And we can say distance is distance from start position to get position. There's nobody liking this. Let's define, oh, star position, start. And then here we'll just say add on screen debug message. Have it print out the actual distance that we traveled. Make sure that we're definitely going, I mean, we said we're going to go 5 meters. Let's make sure we're going 5 meters. Distance equals 5 meters, 5.00. It's kind of maybe hard for you to see. It's like over the character profile. But 5 meters when I do a full movement, exactly, down to 2 decimal places, down to the millimeter. And then if I do a quick tap, ooh, that was weird. Oh, I bet I'm hitting the ground. But yeah, the minimum is 2 meters because that's how it works out with the 2 different times. Now let's change that thing where it thinks I was impacting the ground, or it thinks I was like running into something, but that was just the ground. So that's interesting. We don't want to care about if you hit the ground. I think what I'll do is, instead of sweeping forward with the full character capsule, just gonna sweep forward with like a sphere. Same radius as the capsule, but it's kind of floating above the ground a little bit. It's kind of a hack. I should do like a more elaborate solution, but I think this will be good enough for now to avoid colliding with the ground. Oh, that's interesting. When I'm a plane, my forward direction is up, so I'm like body slamming up. That's not right. We actually want to body slam in the direction that the camera is facing, not the direction that you're facing. So instead of the direction being pose.rotation.vector, we actually want pawn control rotation to vector. And actually, now that I think about it, this should be to yaw vector. That means that we're going to ignore the camera looking up and down and only use it horizontal. So yeah, now we're jet, we're shooting forward. Okay, now that slam is not very interesting looking, so let's change up the configuration a little. Uh-oh, what did I do? Stop. EP, spider. So let's look at, let's say the max duration is 0.2 seconds. Distance is 10 meters? That sounds crazy. 7.5 meters? What does this look like? That's pretty insane. Okay, wait, let's take that down to 5 meters. Cool when you're on the ground, when in the air it's not as cool. I guess because you have less, you don't see the ground around you. So what we really should be doing is reinforcing this with the camera. Also, it's kind of wild that there's no reticle. Let's like actually get the reticle back. We'll just draw something simple. So fighter HUD. Draw. Yeah, here we go. If you melee body slam component. Let's just draw a little circle. Fill dot, the extent is maybe 2%. Set color to, oh wait, I have a cursor color, right? Or a ammo color filled, reticle color normal. Now this should just show a little dot. Not what I ultimately want, but oh, this is. Look at how bad I am at typing. Oh, we just got a little dot. That's how we know we're using the body slam weapon. Now that I think about it, though, you should totally just be body slamming into the thing under the dot, right? Okay, yeah, that makes way more sense. Let's do that. So, we'll just pre-compute the slam direction. Oh, we can get rid of this start position stuff. That's all done. But we can say slamder. So here we can say slamder equals the pawn's reticle trace position minus the pawn's position. Reticle trace is just I do a query every frame to see what's under the reticle. And trace end is just the position of the thing that's under the reticle or the position in the distance that's on the skybox that's behind the reticle. So either way, it's like a world space position that we can compare stuff to. So it's going to be the reticle position minus the pawn position. And then we might change that or do some other stuff with it, but we'll see how that looks. Now I should be body slamming into the point that's under the reticle. Except that I'm not actually using that. I computed it and then I forgot to use it. Okay. There we go. Okay, it's going towards the reticle, but because, you know, it has radius, it doesn't make it all the way to the reticle point because it's hitting the wall too. I wonder if what we really need to do is like slide if it's a glancing angle. I might just put that in as a comment for now because that's like a lot of code to write on stream. But to do. If the hit is a glancing angle, then slide along it rather than impact it. But yeah, plane. Oh, that's funny. The plane is registering it sometimes as like a wall impact and sometimes not. It's probably like an update order issue. Oh, if you fly into a wall and let go at the last second, then it registers as you're colliding with the wall. Oh. That raises some questions. And we're still hitting the ground. Oh, we're hitting the ground because we're pointing into the ground. Let's just gonna say if contact slamder minus equals slamder dotted with pawn. So now if you're pointing down, it'll just go forward. Yeah, that's better. Oh, I should say, if you have a ground contact and slammed blast, if the slammed or dotted with the ground normal is negative. So this way you can still go up, but you can't go down. I wonder about this, right? Like if I slam into the wall, it's fine, but if I let go of the slam at the last second, then I get hurt. I wonder if like you have iframes at the end of the slam or something. I need to think about this. That's an interesting little design thing. I should at least make a note about it. I'll put it in the header so I won't forget. Yeah. To do resolve exiting slam a few frames short of a wall and then triggering normal impact logic, which is a very different result for a not so different input. This is the sort of thing, kind of like a coyote jump, like if you jump a little bit too late. I think if you stop body slamming a little bit too early, it should forgive you. Or I'll just write that in there. Treat it like a coyote jump. Forgive. Have a forgiveness window. Okay, I spelled exiting wrong. Cool. So, well, let's copy down those values that I changed here, make them a little more stable. And then, what can I do? I guess here what we can do next is actually handle body slamming into enemies and making them blow up. So, combat listener is another interface. This is the interface that tells you all the sorts of stuff that can happen to you, right? So you can get hit by a bullet, you can get hit by a missile, you can get hit by a missile that's targeting you, you can be hit by a laser blast, you can be caught in the area of effect of a laser blast, you can get caught in the area of effect of like a generic explosion, and then all of these methods by default just call a single combat damaged method. So like if you don't override the default behavior, then it just calls combat damage, which is an easy way to just handle damage in general. And you can see there's some non-damaging events, like if a bullet ricocheted, or I've completely forgotten what combat deflected means, but it's probably important. So let's come back in here and say, great, add a new method, virtual void, body slammed. Say melee body slam. Let's just make sure we have all the declarations. Well, this is a file that I made before I was doing 4 declarations in one file. Let me clean that up. Bullet manager is already taken care of. Missile is already taken care of. Laser blast is already taken care of. Get some structs. I think blast shooter component is already taken care of. So here. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. Great. All in alphabetical order. We can go back to combat listener. We can give a default implementation to when anything is body slammed. So the amount, it will just be a crazy high amount. And the tag, oh, new tag. Missile, AoE, melee. Nope, there, here. And then the direction, all damage in our game, the listener expects all damage to have a direction. So let's go back to that body slam component and just have a getter on here. We'll just call this the last direction. So now in the combat listener, we can say, combat, you've been damaged with a crazy amount of melee damage in the slammer direction. We actually need to include that header now. So include melee body slam component. So now, oh wait, last thing. You can get a combat listener from any like hit result. So we're gonna go to the body slam component here. We're gonna say if I combat listener, if the thing that you hit is listening for combat events, which we're going to need to include header for, then to the listener, we're going to say melee on body slam. This is kind of just showing like what's useful about interfaces. Like, is this an enemy? Is this just like an asteroid that blows up? It could be anything. Anything that cares about combat events is going to get this dispatch. Oh no, what have I done? Something's bad in the header, I think. What's going on? A missile's missing. It should be in start.h, right? Nope. So now we can just place like a tank in here. So let me just go character, enemy tank, enemy tank, spawner. Where's my tutorial tank spawner? Why is nothing showing up? There should be a spline. Oh, yeah, it's messed up. That's right. let's just delete all these spawning points. Tank. This is a tutorial tank, so it doesn't actually shoot, which is handy. Oh, but that also means it does not spawn by default. I think I can fix that. Spawner, spawn on play. There we go. So now I should be able to body slam it. And it blows up. Great. Look at that. Can make a few of these. Just see how fun it is to like combo chain. That actually counts. Like it seems like I should have been able to hit them, but I guess, yeah. I need to actually visualize the path that they're taking. But if you like are right next to a dude and you click on the dude, you should totally body slam them and not clip the geometry like in the environment. Gonna do to make the body slam seem a little bit better. I'm gonna do a thing we did on Solar Ash where I basically like freeze the tracking position for a second and then catch back up with you. So let me hack that in real quick. And actually I added all this stuff as a friend, so this can all be private again. For body slam. Let's say F factor, tracking position hold. So now, let's say when you enter the body slam, you'll say pawn. Pawn has like a, how does this work? It's like a camera stack. Pawn tracking position hold is the current tracking position hold time set now. So I'm just saving the tracking position of the camera and I'm saving the current time. And then we're going to go to the actual pawn's camera function. So you can see what happens is it has this camera stack. And it updates and evaluates the camera stack. I think I need to put this tracking hold logic in the camera track stack itself. So that's orbit camera stack. We'll put a function here, try tracking pinch. update function. We're going to get the orbit. And then we've got this calc I function. Calc I. How did this work? Yeah, what we want to do is say orbit equals m orbit if Okay, sorry, I haven't been talking much, but this is basically just saying when we hitch the tracking position, the camera should stop for a second and then play catch up. So now, in the body slam, when the body slam starts, we're gonna try a hitch for max slam duration. So when you slam, the camera's going to stop for a second, player's going to keep going, and so you'll see the player get ahead of the camera, and then the camera will have to catch up, instead of the camera just like tracking the hitch really tightly. Unless I did a bug. Yeah, so that looks a little bit better. Actually, no, that doesn't look better. That looks heinous. What's going on there? Let's Is this max duration too slow? Or too fast? What if I just did 40 seconds? Or... Okay, it looks a little better, but it's still kind of long. Maybe only a half second. We actually, what I really want to do. Okay, now you're just seeing me. This needs to be a more bit modified. Make sure that those hitches stack up. And don't get that glitch that I got when I was hammering the mouse button. And then also, what if this warp value was like parabola instead of a linear value? This might look weird. Okay, that's kind of funny when you get extremely far away. Partially, I don't think you should just be able to dash that much. We need to put like a cooldown or a like combo limit or something. Anyway, we've gone past 4 o'clock, so I think that's like kind of an interesting initial. Actually, when I hit play, it's like, yeah, it's flying in because that one variable is not initialized. So let's fix that one last bug, and then I'll let y'all go, because I'm getting a little bit peckish. But let's see here. Orbit equals. I just need to do a little bit of tweaking there to make sure that I added some properties to the camera, but they weren't initialized. There we go. Now the camera starts in the right place. Yeah, the position that you're dashing in doesn't seem to be quite right. I need to figure out what's going on there. But I think that apart from the geometry glitches with the direction and the open questions about how to handle chaining them and what happens if you stop doing it right in front of a wall and stuff, I think the body slam's actually it's interesting. I don't know. We do want to have a bunch of different wacky weapons in the game, so maybe this is like the wacky melee move and there's like a more conventional slash. But hope people had fun watching me learn that Unreal's modeling tools are bad and then change gears and do some weapon stuff instead. Just an experimenting day. But yeah, the boy says hi, and yeah, thanks for watching.